Okay, so I'm thinking for today's project we should probably start looking at this Suzuki PE175 because I haven't done anything with it yet, and if I want to be able to ride it, then it needs to be able to run, because I have a feeling after I get it running I may even need to go into the transmission afterwards. So the guy I bought it off of was nice enough to give me all new cables for it, because I think even some of them are wrong. So I'm actually going to start by doing the cables, or at least the throttle cable. I'll start by doing the throttle cable, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to start by removing the throttle cable, which is non-existent. Here it is. I'm going to start by doing that. That way, at least once I get the carb taken out, we can take out the air boxes, then at least that way I know that I can control the throttle when I'm trying to start it. I did restore spark, or replace the spark plug cap. I got spark now, but I don't have fuel. Obviously the fuel tank's off of it, don't have fuel. So we are going to start by doing that, the throttle cable, and we'll get the carbs and the air boxes, or the carb and air boxes all taken apart. Alrighty, so I started by taking the airbox covers off here to get in the airbox. Besides Mr. Buggy there, it's actually not too bad. I mean, I've seen much worse. They're actually, I mean, they're dirty, but it's not like, not as bad as the IT was. Let's just say that. We did the carb on the Honda Foreman the last week there, so we're into carbs again. This is a different carb. This slide was actually a little bit seized in there, and it is, we're gonna have to clean that up as best we can because it is pretty scuffed. Yeah, it's not in great shape, but well, we should be able to save it, make it usable at least, because we also have to replace our throttle cable here, which means I have to take apart this whole assembly to do this. If you've never done this before, it's a little bit of fun, making sure that you get the spring in and everything. You can also, if you want, change your needle position and change the way the carb functions a little bit. We're not going to do that because we don't even have this thing running yet, so I don't really have anything to go off of right now. Look at this, even for this 1983, we can have a brand new one. And it even looks like it might be the right cable and everything. I'm just going to go ahead and reassemble the throttle assembly really quick here, so don't end up losing any parts here on my great outdoor workspace. Now before we do this, we should actually check our needle here, and I can already see a problem, is that this clip is backed all the way off, so we're not gonna know. Yeah, somebody was in here for sure. We're not gonna know exactly where this clip needs to be now is the issue. We gotta be careful because it's already damaged. Someone was in here and they didn't know what they were doing. Looks like I got that clip kind of bent back the best I possibly can get it. But now it's sort of gonna be a guessing game as to where it needs to go, unless I can find a service manual for this. We're gonna put it second from the bottom. I gotta be careful as shit here. So basically what I'm doing here, here's your needle, controls the amount of fuel that goes in. This clip here, this tiny little clip you can barely see in my fingers, actually holds that in a certain position, but this one was damaged at some point. So I'm just gonna stick it on. We'll stick it on right there. If we need to move it later, we'll have to come back in and move the clip to a different position. best it's gonna be. I could probably find another one of those. So we're gonna go second from the bottom, which is kind of just a guess. I'm just gonna stick that back in where it's supposed to go, and where it's home, and proceed with reassembly. Here's a carb that we have a number of things wrong with. Our slide, first of all, is getting to be pretty scored up in a few places, so especially right here. We're going to clean that up the best we can because I don't really know if I can even find a replacement for it. The bowl is full of debris, which is fine. The bowl's actually not terribly bad, but here's where we run into problems is on the jetting end, which is usually the problem. But here's a carb that's been sitting a long time. I had to take my time and take it apart all properly so I couldn't do too much talking. A couple of things here. This carb, somebody's definitely been into it a number of times because there's a number of issues in here. There's no reason that this guard should be damaged right here. Unless somebody was trying to take it out, because I can see that these screws, the heads here, are all chomped up. So if somebody was trying to take this guard out, which actually isn't really necessary. It doesn't need to come out for really any reason unless you really want to clean behind it. Not the worst carb I've ever seen, but yeah, it's got some problems. So the pilot jet that goes in there I was able to take out. Our main jet and main jet holder is one of the jet holders, kind of the guard for the jet. Kind of keeps the holder in place. This jet's actually plastic. It's fully clogged up. Our needle and seat is it's cracked here for some reason. I don't know why that would be. And our needle is, thankfully it is made out of metal, so I should be able to, I'm hoping I'll be able to clean this up. This is actually missing an O-ring here too that I just noticed. Yeah, there should be an O-ring right down in here to keep from fuel spilling over into the carb. Our float here is in pretty rough shape, so I'm hoping I can do something to save that. It should be okay. I'm hoping this one is collapsed a little. I'm a little concerned about it, but it should be okay after I get it all cleaned up. There's a lot of rust in here. So we're gonna do what I can to clean this up. I may have to go find an O-ring for that. Would be the only thing that would be holding us back from putting this carb back together, because I don't want to put back together something that's just gonna leak anyway. So I'm gonna do what I can here. I'm gonna clean it up the best I can, and we'll see where we end up. So this kind of all goes back to what we found in here with that clip being misplaced and also broken. So it's lucky we did have to go in there and replace the throttle cable. That's not something I would just see for no reason. So with all these damaged parts, somebody was clawing at this, trying to get it out. But I just took out the retaining pin and it just popped right out. So this has been clawed up, which is our needle and seat. That's what goes in there, which is our fuel needle. The number one problem with carbs is definitely the jetting, is clogs in the jetting. The number two problem with carbs, and I will stand by what I say here, the number two problem with carbs is actually people going into them and not knowing what they're doing and trying to take them apart and then putting them back together incorrectly or damaging parts inside. That is definitely the number two problem. It's a close second to what I see in carburetors, is that people want to service them themselves, which is fine, but so often they're either put together wrong or things are damaged that they may not recognize, or they damage something and they don't recognize it and it goes back together. So I'm gonna do what I can to clean this one up. The needle and seat is really my own. This guy here is my biggest concern. Everything else should clean up. These aren't in great shape, but I should be able to fix them, or at least make it so I can run the thing at least. But the carb, as I suspected, it's actually worse than I thought it was gonna be. The carb here, it needs work. so unfortunately that's all I have for today's video, because I was hoping I was going to be able to put that carb back together again, but there's a perfect example of people tampering with things they know nothing about and actually making things way worse, and now I gotta fix it. That's okay, it's my machine anyway. I mean, you don't spend a couple $100s on a Kijiji machine without knowing that it's probably going to need some work. I don't want to do any of the other cables. I don't want to do anything else on it until I get it running. I want to get it running first, and then from there we can decide what we want to do, what needs to be done. But I want to hear it run first, and then we'll take things from there. Because I have a feeling that however many years ago that carb needed work, that's when everything got screwed up and they got mad, and that was it. It's missing parts. That's the biggest thing. I can't do anything more on it because it's missing parts. I can't put it back together the way it is. It's just gonna puke fuel everywhere. I need to get some better cleaner too. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Bye bye.